Let's see what are the best teams to use in Marvel Mystic Mayhem. We are going to discuss about fully free-to-play and also overall stronger teams with more rare characters, but have in mind, even though some characters are very strong, the best team might differ depending on the quest or boss you want to clear. Weaknesses, for example, can play a big role in that. Let's begin with the basics though. What should your composition look like class-wise? There are 4 classes in the game: Defender, Controller, Fighter and Striker, and the most common comp will feature a Defender, a Controller, and a Damage Dealer or a DPS, so either a Striker or a Fighter. There's no set rule that this should always be the formula you follow. For example, it's possible to run both a Striker and a Fighter together, alongside either a good Controller with buffs and sustain, like Doctor Strange, or a Defender with taunt or survivability capabilities like Armor, for example. Let's talk about the best free-to-play / beginner-friendly teams first. The most obvious teams to build are the ones with the characters we get for free very early on in the game. Of course, the prime example will be Hulk, Misty Knight as a physical damage dealer, and Sleepwalker for our controller. For another physical damage dealer, but this time a single target DPS, we will run the same team with Lady Bullseye instead of Misty Knight, who has a bit more AoE damage. Or if we want to focus more on special damage, we can run Hulk with Psylocke and Sleepwalker, and Psylocke also has a bit more AoE. But because Hulk also has self-sustainability, as we discussed before from his ultimate ability, we can run him with Psylocke and Lady Bullseye as well, and with this team we are more aggressive, we do more damage, and we also have the follow-up attack synergy if that is something you want to pursue. After you do some standard banner pulls, based on the characters you get, it's possible to start experimenting more with your teams, but unfortunately, excluding niche compositions, there are not a lot of decent low rarity controllers, which means Sleepwalker will be used often and he will be one of your best controller friends early on until you pull an upgrade, or until you decide at least to not run a controller and go the other route as we saw before with perhaps a Striker Fighter and a self-sustaining Defender. Without him, for example, and also without Hulk, you can run Armor as your self-sustaining Defender, and then combo Lady Bullseye and Doppelganger for physical damage. Or instead of Doppelganger, if you do want to run a controller and you pulled for Iron Man, for example, you can run Falcon to boost Lady Bullseye's damage. Another option is to run Hulk with Lady Bullseye and another damage dealer that we get for free relatively early, Echo. If you manage to pull Angela and you don't want to use Hulk, or you don't have armor, or generally a better defender, because she can group enemies together, you can pair her up with characters that can do AoE damage. Psylocke can be a very easy example, and then we are going to pair both of these characters up with Sleepwalker. If you get Storm from the mission rewards as a 3-star hero, you can run her with Sentry and Sleepwalker. That can definitely be a very strong team to use early on, even though Storm does not have the highest damage output, not only for strikers but overall for damage dealers in the game. She's still not too shabby and better than some 2-star options. You can technically also focus on more niche compositions. I wouldn't really advise it though. At the end of the day, objectively, the teams are not that strong, but because we have the ability to reset a character and get all of the resources and investment we put into them back for I think approximately 3 more weeks, you can test the teams out and see if you perhaps find them fun for your personal taste. Hence why I will be mentioning some unique teams. The Summons team is first, with Moon Girl and Devil Dino. We get this character for free from the login bonus reward, and Devil Dino, who actually gets boosted from their own kit, also gets boosted from Thread, who in general is the enabler of the archetype, being able to boost summons or underlings or minions that the character summons. Thread can do the same, of course, and he can not only buff his own summons, he can buff other character summons like Devil Dino and like Man-Thing's summons as well, who you want to run as your controller to have the full archetype. But as you can see, this team does not run a defender at all, so you might struggle a bit. You do have the summons though, and Thread is the enabler, so you do need him to run this archetype, which does not have a lot of options at the moment. These are the main ones, but I'm guessing we'll get more in the future. Another unique composition is the Mr. Negative one, and this character deals more damage the more debuffs the enemy has applied to them. So you should be combining him with a defender, self-sustaining one to be exact, could be armor with the extra shield and taunt, could be Hulk as well, and then you want a character that can apply multiple debuffs to the enemies. So Storm and also Spider-Man can be prime examples. To be completely honest though, I am not the biggest fan of Negative, simply because I think you simply have better damage output options without them limiting you in team building as much as Mr. Negative does. In Mystic Mayhem, the game will guarantee you a 3-star character though, between Juggernaut, Doctor Strange, Emma Frost and Thor after 40 standard banner pulls. All of these characters are great, so you should start investing on the one you managed to get. To be completely honest with you, I think out of these 4 options, Juggernaut is the worst, but even if you do get him, it's not the end of the world. He just by far needs more investment to actually be super useful compared to the rest of the cast here. If you do pull him specifically though, you can make the very simple composition of using him as a defender, Psylocke as a special DPS and Sleepwalker for your controller, or even run a double defender composition, but it is more situational. So Juggernaut, Lady Bullseye for very strong single target damage and armor. Of course, you can combine him and Sleepwalker with many other DPS characters. It doesn't need to be specifically Psylocke, this is just an example. It can also be Lady Bullseye, Misty Knight or anybody else. If you get Thor, who is currently the strongest fighter character in the entire game, you have some very good team options. You can combine him with Hulk, who has a healing ultimate ability, and then Dream Queen to boost his damage, but she is not really a healing focused controller, so if Hulk's self-sustain is not enough, you can simply run Sleepwalker, and perhaps you can also find his ultimate AoE damage comfortable to have. You can also combine Thor with a more hybrid damage dealer / defender character in Sentry, and then also run Sleepwalker to have an easier time with his heals and also boosting. Emma Frost is one of the best controllers and characters in general to get in Marvel Mystic Mayhem, and provides very good special damage boosting, damage herself, debuffs and also healing. You can combine her of course with Hulk and Psylocke to make a very strong special damage team, or even prefer to run Sentry instead of Hulk. And finally, Doctor Strange is probably the most versatile controller in the entire game, and to be honest fits in almost every team, but for some specific examples, you can once again run Sentry as a hybrid of damage dealing and tankiness, and then Lady Bullseye for strong physical damage single target, alongside Strange for his buffing, very strong healing, and also debuffing on the enemy. You can also go the follow-up attack combo once again with Strange because of his strong healing, so you will run him with Psylocke and Lady Bullseye. Last but not least, if you are either a player that has spent some money on the game, or that was lucky with pulls, or you are a more veteran player and perhaps you are watching this video later on in the game's life cycle, and you have multiple 3-star characters, kind of excluding Moon Girl and Devil Dino, you can build some of the following teams. In a quest with multiple enemies, you can combine Angela's ability to group up enemies with Iron Man's very strong AoE damage, especially coming from his ultimate ability to destroy everybody, and of course, having Strange in your team makes it that much better. If you are not going versus multiple enemies, you can replace Angela with another defender, controller, or even a secondary DPS, since Strange does have strong healing. If you have Scarlet Witch, she's a very good combination with Doctor Strange, of course, at the end of the day who isn't, and then you can also run Sentry for even more damage coming from your defender. You can also combine the two best controllers in the entire game in Doctor Strange and Emma Frost, and that way you are going to have tons of damage coming from your DPS, which can be anybody to be completely honest, but some prime examples will be Scarlet Witch or Thor. If you got Storm from the missions and perhaps bought Scarlet Witch from her exclusive pack, then you can easily combine the two strikers with Doctor Strange, and you can have Scarlet Witch unleash the majority of damage, but also have Storm as a secondary damage dealer who can also apply debuffs to the enemies. And finally, for one of the best combinations in the entire game in my opinion, you can have Thor alongside Emma Frost, and then also run any defender, the optimal one probably being Hulk because of his special damage, self-healing and also debuff application. Sentry is another option for sure, but to be fair, even Juggernaut or Armor can work generally any defender because the combo of Thor and Emma is one of the strongest ones in the game, allowing the God of Thunder to do lots of damage. And these are some of the best teams you can build in Marvel Mystic Mayhem, and multiple examples of different team combinations. What is your favorite combo so far in the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, leave a like, I would really appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.